Welcome along to episode 6 or 7 of the Property Plug. I'm Sammy Mubarak from Mex Property in Harborne, and today I'm with Terry from
Acquiesce Environmental Compliance.
If you can say so yourself.
I can.
Where did the name come from?
It's based on an album by the band Oasis.
So everyone should know that, basically.
There you go.
This is your first podcast, apparently.
It is indeed, yeah. Never done one.
Have you ever listened to a podcast before?
Don't think so, no.
Have you listened to audiobooks?
No.
Are you old school?
Old school, yeah.
You like it on a piece of paper?
Yeah, like read it. Pick it up and read it.
Okay, well look, it's a pretty chilled out environment. We used to have a little chat. We know each other anyway.
Yes.
We're members of BNI, networking. We're also avid golf fans.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure I've beat you yet.
Don't think you have.
No. But I've had some funny shots on the course.
You have.
I've been to parts of the course that you've
never seen before. Or hope to see again.
Yeah. Well, when the weather gets better,
I
will be looking to whoop you up at golf, basically.
Whoop me up.
Yeah. So I got you on today because obviously you work for a company which deals with property-related services.
Yeah, that's
and
correct.
I call it landlord bashing, where the government come in and just basically compliance legislation. They come in and just put it on our landlords. What it does is it puts the landlord's costs up. They then think, oh my God, where's this money coming from?
Absolutely.
They put the rent up, and then guess who pays?
Yeah,
the tenant. The tenants pay.
Yeah.
Whatever legislation comes in via landlord bashing, the only people that pay is tenants, and it's quite a sad world.
Yeah.
More communication is required between the government and the landlords and the agents and Arla, but it's not happening. There's no communication yet to work out when to start legislation. But you are working for a company called Acquiesce.
Yeah,
got it right.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done.
What do you do?
Okay, so we as a business are solely involved in water hygiene, basically Legionella control in hot and cold water systems. So that's from Legionella risk assessments through remedial works, statutory training of make sure that people are compliant with the water hygiene regulations.
And are you doing it for residential and commercial?
Yeah, so our main core business is commercial, but we also carry out probably on average around about 600 to 800 residential landlord risk assessments per annum.
So that's quite a lot.
Quite a lot, yeah.
And are you noticing that more residential properties are having the risk assessments done?
I think there's more and more pressure on landlords and property owners to be compliant with statutory regulations. The last major update was 2013.
Yep.
So that's 10 years ago.
Probably one coming then.
Where they brought in domestic properties alongside commercial properties. But the landlord responsibility, like any responsible person, is to make sure that the water is pure and wholesome within the property, and that everything's safe for the tenant.
And obviously free from diseases.
Free from bacteria, basically,
Yeah.
and protecting them. You know, there's 50 different known species of the Legionella bacteria.
Wow.
In water systems, and the bacteria is in every water system. But
Where do you normally find the bacteria? Where
it can be in cold water pipes. It can be it stagnates basically. So it's sitting water. Ambient temperatures affect it. So if you think about the last couple of years, we get these extreme heat waves. That can if there's water just sat there not moving, just stagnating.
It can start developing inside.
Common one in domestic rented properties will be shower heads. So you need to make sure that your shower head is cleaned on a regular basis. The statutory guidelines on that is every 3 months, and it's all about recording that it's being done. Now, as a landlord, you can't enforce a tenant to do it, but you meet your responsibility by making sure that they are aware of the legislation and what they should be doing.
So that's part of it as well. So
absolutely.
Once you've created the report, you then educate the tenants on how they can keep their property free from it.
Keep themselves, I mean, you and I both stay in hotels on a fairly frequent basis. You probably check out the minibar. I go in and check the shower head to see what condition that's in. So
I do the first thing I do when I go into a hotel.
Check the minibar.
No, that rug on the front of the bed.
Right.
Yeah, I call it the poo rug.
Right.
I get that, just throw it into the corner of the room.
Yes.
And never touch it again.
Right.
Because basically there's been studies happening where they get the blue light and they look at the amount of bacteria and germs on that little throw, the decorative one. and we just throw that away, get it out, and don't touch it again.
Right,
We just went to Tenerife on holiday,
Yes.
and the second morning, the cleaners had lovely. They placed it on the end of my bed again.
And you threw it off again.
Threw it back, and the next morning it was in the corner still. They got the message.
They got the message.
Don't want the poo rug anywhere near my
the
bed
poo
sheets.
rug. Excellent.
So I learned that a long time ago, and it's never going to leave my head.
Never left you.
Let's go. So we got sidetracked. Let's go back to
Yeah.
where we were. So basically, Legionella is a disease.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about this to landlords,
Uh-huh.
they're like, "Is it compulsory?" And the rules are very vague, but we're going to break it down today, aren't we? So,
Yeah.
from our opinion, the property under the HHSRS, which is the Housing Health Safety Rating Systems or Standards.
Yeah.
We read it just now. Basically, the property has to be free from waterborne diseases and
Yeah.
airborne water diseases like
Yeah.
Legionnaires.
Yeah.
And it also says between 10 and 15% of Legionella cases are fatal.
Yeah.
Which
yeah,
is
they
ridiculous.
can be. Yeah.
So
yeah.
luckily, there's not been one death just yet.
No.
And I guess like because it's not compulsory, i.e., it's the law, like the EICRs, which are electrical reports and gas certificates.
Yeah.
Landlords are trying to save money by not doing it.
Yeah.
But there's a risk there, isn't there? Because
There's a risk. I think it comes under what we call landlord responsibilities, and the responsibility of, all of us who are landlords are responsible to our tenants to make sure that everything in that property is safe, or as near as we possibly can to help and advise them. So we tend to sort of look at the HSGC 274, which is the Health and Safety at Work Act, relating to control of Legionella bacteria. And it comes under something called the ACOP L8, which is the code of practice
you
for...
know your codes.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the code of practice for the prevention of an outbreak of Legionnaire's disease, etc. So some of the things, again, with different properties, some of the old properties can still have cold water storage tanks. And again, a lot of properties, the tank is way too big compared with the amount of water that they use. So there's stagnation issues around that, and most of the tanks tend to be in lofts. And referring back to what I said a while back, Sammy, about the temperatures up and down, and the bacteria becomes sessile, but it likes hard man-made surfaces. That's ideal. Sort of breeding grounds, copper,
metals, plastics,
pipes, dead ends, dead pipes. So where you have these properties that have been refurbished and modernised, they may well have left in the old pipe work still connected to the water system, and that water just sits there, but can also flow back into the mainstream water within the building.
So when you do your report, okay, and you said there could be a risk of Legionnaires, but you haven't found the disease.
Yeah.
Do you advise on remedial works that should be done?
So dependent entirely on the report. So the report is broken down into 3 sections. Basically, what the landlord should be doing to make sure that they're compliant and protect themselves, but also the advice that's passed on to the tenant. There may be some immediate remedial actions. So if they have got a cold water storage tank, it may need to be cleaned and disinfected. So we can help and support with that. There are other advice around things like shower heads and various other things that are found within the property. So each property is different, and some of the things that you find will be different from property to property.
So I don't fully understand the whole report. So once you've completed the report, you then will provide a document to the agent, and then you will then explain to the agent how they can advise the tenant. Yeah. That's how you come in, and that's how you help the agents. The same way, direct to landlord, I guess.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Okay, and so as an agent, we're thinking of making it compulsory for all. Although it's not law just yet, it's a very vague little part of the system, in my opinion. From April or May this year, we're looking to make sure all incoming rented properties will have a pass of a certificate.
But there's no technical pass or fail, but the fact that they've got it in place is a protection. So you can't, people say to me, and we get a lot of inquiries, people saying, I need to get my water sampled. Well, that's very much similar to giving a blood test. You get a result today. If you sample that water again in two months' time, you'll get a very different result. So that really isn't the crux of the matter. If the building's been empty for a long time, then we would possibly recommend that it needs sampling. And there are various types of samples that would be taken.
And who's doing these reports?
Well, basically, our risk assessors are all City and Guilds qualified. We're controlled, or our sort of governing body is the LCA, the Legionella Control Authority. They audit us on an annual basis. So it's very similar to an Ofsted report in education or a CQC inspection. So we've just gone through our auditing for this coming year. We then get re-licensed and re-accredited from the 1st of August for the following 12 months.
Wow.
And it's quite a lengthy process, the audit. This year it was done on a Zoom for the first time. So everything, it used to be every 2 years, but they've now upped their game, so it's annually for us. And they look at various risk assessments we've done. They look at various control contracts, water hygiene control contracts that we're running, and how we advise and advise landlords, tenants, and everybody in residential situations. We're also members of the Water Management Society, so occasionally, and we had a case recently.
There's lots of things.
There's lots of things that we need to do, but occasionally you'll get something that comes a little bit out of left field. So recently, for a B&I customer, his water's through a borehole system, which is totally different, but it comes out the borehole, goes through filtration, etc., etc. But the council used to do water sampling periodically for him, but they've stopped doing it. So we went along and did some sampling, but while we were there, found an issue that needed to be addressed. So we've been able to advise and support them in that respect as well.
Do you think they're going to make it a compulsory documentation like the gas?
I think eventually they probably will, because like everything, it's on the increase. So there's more and more reported cases on a monthly basis. If you go on to the Public Health of England site, England and Wales, Scotland's slightly different. So, but Public Health for England and Wales, if you go on there, it tells you it's broken down into county by county, area by area, the number of reported cases that are investigated by what is known as the proper officer. So the local authority will appoint somebody. It could be somebody who's an environmental officer to investigate when there's been an outbreak or somebody's contracted Legionnaire's disease, or there's.
Did I hear that they were found Legionella in the sewage down in Kent, or was it?
There's all sorts of areas it can be found. I mean, one of the most recent cases that was publicised was the bacteria was very high in the trains on London Underground. The actual trains, I'm trying to think of the London Transport. So
TfL.
Yeah, TfL Transport for London. That's what I was trying to get.
But they haven't got toilets. We've got
on the actual trains, the main trains, and
the
actual trains. So yeah,
just blowing Legionella.
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
Around.
So the bacteria, which is airborne, so you actually contract the illness by inhaling contaminated droplets of water.
So we've not had any deaths in the residential sector yet.
No, but there's been deaths all over in different areas, care homes, elderly residents. Probably one of the most common. So because the illness is you inhale contaminated droplets of water, there's a reported case from about 2 years ago where somebody inhaled contaminated water from their garden hose. So if you think about, most people leave their garden hose plugged into the tap. The garden hose sits on the patio because they can't be to wind it away or disconnect it and empty it. And that water stagnated, hot, cold, heat, a couple of days, then went out and watered the garden again a few weeks later, inhaled on a windy day. And that was given as the most probable cause, which is the technical of how he contracted the Legionnaire's disease. Yeah.
Wow. So the Legionnaire, whatever you call it, that's always in water.
The bacteria is always in the water, but it needs fluctuations. It needs other conditions to become. It becomes what they call sessile, and it forms cellulite, and then gets dispersed into the air, and people inhale the droplets of water. So garden centres, if you're a gardener, Sammy, be careful, because you think about, they're on a high risk level, because garden centres tend to be out in the open, or as we say from the Black Country, out in the sticks. Very windy sites, but they recycle a lot of water.
So they're great clients for you.
Yeah, we do a lot of work with garden centres, jet wash, people with hot tubs. That's another one because you're heating and so hot tubs are another high risk sort of thing.
I think it's going to take a death in the residential sector for them to actually enforce.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Hotels, yeah, very much so. There's all sorts.
How regularly do we have to, as an agent or landlord, do we have to check?
I think a risk assessment. So a risk assessment falls under 3 sections. So it's either low, medium, or high risk based on what's found. So you get a risk rating similar to your EPC. You get a risk rating. So you'll have a low, medium, or high. The majority of domestic rented property will be low, and it will have a sort of target date of when it needs to be reviewed. But the actual statute now states things like it's subject to regular review. So if you're having a new tenant or a tenancy change, then you want to be able to advise the new tenant.
Yeah.
So that you make sure that you're there. So that's what we do.
Crazy stuff that you do, to be fair. Yeah. And I think personally, it will come mandatory.
Yeah.
In the next couple of years. I think it's just bit by bit the government just come in and just bash the landlords, legislate landlords. Yeah. And like I said at the start, all it does is cost the tenants more. Yeah. But it is about safety, and you want to protect the tenants.
Absolutely.
And let's be in reality, the worst case scenario for a landlord of negligence could be manslaughter.
Yeah.
And then jail.
Corporate manslaughter, correct.
Fines up to £30,000. It's huge figures. And the cost of a Legionnaire, sub 200 quid.
Yeah.
And they do it every couple of years, and you're protecting the safety of your house, your tenants, and yourself by not going to prison.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you've got to think about the bigger picture.
Very much so.
We know about the economy at the moment; it's tight, and everyone's just trying to pinch and pull money back from wherever they can because it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
But when it becomes law, it will come in. I think me and you spoke about it. We could try and do a package where we can offer it to all landlords from the start. Yeah. I guess anyone with a tap is a customer.
Potentially, yeah, that's correct. Yeah. And most rented properties have an outside tap, which is known as a bib tap. Which sort of sits there and that backflows. And
you see that and you're doing
problem. Very much so.
You love them.
But remember, don't check the minibar, make sure you check the shower head.
No, and also what I mentioned to you, check the
poo rug.
Fantastic. Thanks for coming down today.
Thanks, Sam. Right. That's really good.
Thank you. If you need any Legionnaire, you can let go. If you need any Legionnaire assistance as your landlord, talk to me. And if you want to go direct to Terry, the details will be on the podcast. And thanks for coming along. We've got you here in the end.
No problem. Fantastic.
Cheers.
Very good.